businessman hired a black guy to test his wife, but she ran away with him. A rich businessman hired a stranger to test his wife's loyalty, but he never expected her to fall in love with that man and run away. As he tracked them with a hidden GPS, what he discovered broke his heart and changed his life forever. Stay tuned for a story full of twists. Like and subscribe for more emotional stories. Mr. Andrew Wallace wasn't just rich, he was powerful, feared in business circles, and respected at every exclusive club in Chicago. But inside his luxury apartment, his personal life was cold and cracking. His wife, Clara, had once been the light of his world, but over the years, that light had dimmed under the weight of emotional abuse, isolation, and mistrust. Andrew didn't believe in love anymore. He believed in control. He controlled his schedule, his business, his image. Sadly, even Clara, whenever she tried to express her emotions, he'd dismiss her, mock her, or accuse her of exaggerating. He often reminded her, "I made you who you are." And Clara, too afraid and too lonely, began to live like a ghost in her own home. One night, Andrew saw Clara smiling at a waiter. It was innocent. But to him, it was proof that she was cheating. Instead of asking or reflecting on his actions, Andrew went dark. He came up with a cruel idea, to hire someone to test her. That's when he met Jeremiah Carter, a fit, respectful black man who gave personal training sessions at a nearby gym. Andrew noticed how women smiled around him and how confident he was, so he made him an offer $10,000 up front and more if he could catch Clara slipping. Jeremiah didn't like the idea. "You want me to flirt with your wife, just to see if she cheat?" he asked, confused and uncomfortable. Andrew smirked. "Don't act so noble, it's just a job. She's not innocent." Jeremiah eventually agreed, not for the money, but because something inside told him there was more. To this story, maybe Clara wasn't the villain Andrew made her out to be, so the plan began. A casual meeting at the park, a friendly conversation, a little charm. But when Jeremiah saw Clara sitting alone on that bench, reading a worn-out book with sadness in her eyes, he felt something unexpected. Connection, not lust, not curiosity, a spark. Jeremiah approached Clara gently, asking about her book. She looked up, surprised, then smiled shyly. "It's The Secret Garden," she said, her voice soft. "It reminds me of what I used to believe before everything." Jeremiah sat beside her, not too close. "Before what?" he asked. And just like that, a conversation began. Easy, honest, and healing. They met again the next day, and the next. What was supposed to be a setup turned into something far deeper. Jeremiah didn't ask about her marriage. He didn't pry, he just listened. They spoke about music, the smell of old libraries, favorite childhood memories, and how both of them once dreamed of living near the ocean. For Clara, it felt like breathing, after years of drowning. For Jeremiah, it felt like purpose. One rainy afternoon, Clara opened up. "My husband doesn't hit me, but he hurts me in other ways. With silence, with guilt, with always reminding me I'm nothing without him." Her voice trembled. "But when I talk to you, I feel seen again." Jeremiah's eyes welled up. "You are seen, Clara. You deserve more than what you've been given." It wasn't long before they both realized the truth. This wasn't part of Andrew's plan. This was real. They knew the risk. Clara could lose everything: her name, reputation, security. Jeremiah could be blamed, targeted, even accused of something worse. But none of that mattered anymore. "We have to go," Clara whispered one night as they sat under a city bridge. "We don't owe him anything." They booked train tickets to a quiet hill town where no one knew them. They didn't even say goodbye to anyone. They packed light, left their phones, and boarded the train in silence, hearts racing, hands clasped, souls ready to begin again. Little did they know, they were being followed. Back in the city, Andrew was pacing in his penthouse like a lion in a cage. Clara hadn't returned home in 2 days. Her phone was off. No messages, no excuses. Something didn't feel right, but not in the way he expected. First, he thought maybe she just needed space. Then suspicion crept in. He poured a drink, opened his laptop, and clicked on a hidden app, Tracker Safe, a discreet GPS tracker. Software he personally funded through one of his side businesses. Clara didn't know, but during a minor ankle injury months ago, he'd told doctors to install a smart brace for health monitoring. In truth, it carried a tiny tracker hidden beneath its casing. Now, the tracker blinked live on screen. She was miles away, not just out of town, but heading deep into the mountains. Then he saw another blip appear next to her. Jeremiah. His heart dropped. It wasn't just betrayal anymore, it was reality. She had left him, with the very man he hired. Andrew felt like a fool. Anger bubbled inside him. He wanted to confront them, make them pay. He packed a bag and got into his black Mercedes, driving through rain and winding roads, GPS guiding him toward the town where Clara's signal had last pinged. 6 hours later, he arrived. He checked into a hotel under a fake name and kept a low profile. With sunglasses on, he scouted the area. Then he saw them, Clara and Jeremiah, walking together along a foggy trail. She laughed, the kind of laugh Andrew hadn't heard in years. Not once did she look back. He followed from a distance. His hand tightened on the phone in his pocket. But as he watched them sit down together on a wooden bench, holding hands and watching the sunset, something shifted in him. For the first time, he saw her as human. Not property, not a trophy, not a wife, just a woman who wanted to be loved. He stood frozen, torn between ego and empathy. Then, without warning, Andrew turned around. He left a handwritten note at the front desk of the couple's inn and drove off. As he stared at the road ahead, he whispered to himself, "Let her be free." Clara found the note on the wooden desk of the inn the next morning. Her hands trembled as she read the words written in Andrew's unmistakable handwriting. "Clara, I saw you. I saw everything. And for once, I saw myself too. You don't owe me anything. I hope you find the peace I never gave you." Andrew, tears streamed down her face. Not because she missed him, but because she never expected him to let go without a fight. Jeremiah held her tightly. "He's gone." She nodded. "Yes," and he said, "to be happy." The two of them looked around at the place they now called home. Nestled in a hilly town surrounded by pine trees, quiet rivers, and colorful flowers. This was nothing like the concrete world they left behind, and yet it felt more real than anything. Clara began working at a local bakery, waking early to help bake bread and decorate pastries. Soon, she opened a small cafe of her own, Second Chance Caf, a cozy spot with books, soft music, and warm coffee. It became a place for stories of healing, starting over, and finding joy again. Jeremiah, meanwhile, began training local teens, teaching self-defense, and hosting wellness classes. He even partnered with a non-profit to create weekend programs for young boys without father figures. They weren't rich. They didn't have flashy cars or designer clothes. But what they did have was something priceless: peace, purpose, and each evening, they'd sit on their porch, wrapped in blankets, watching fog roll over the hills. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just listened to the wind. One night, Clara whispered, "I still can't believe this is real." Jeremiah smiled. "It's real because we chose it." They were no longer escaping. They were rebuilding. In Chicago, Andrew stood in front of a mirror, not in his usual suit, but in casual clothes. He didn't recognize the man staring back. His penthouse felt colder now. Not because Clara was gone, but because he finally noticed how empty his life had been all along. He used to think power was in money, control, and dominance. But now, he realized the strongest thing he ever did was let go. He contacted a therapist for the first time in his life. He stopped yelling at his employees. He began writing apology letters to people he'd wronged, and not just Clara, but old friends, colleagues, and even his estranged sister. Months later, he sold part of his company and donated the money to women's shelters and mental health organizations. One of the shelters was even named the Clara Foundation, though she never knew. He never tried to reach her again. He didn't want to ruin her peace. This time, love meant staying away. As for Clara and Jeremiah, they thrived quietly. They had no need for flashy announcements or social media validation. They lived a simple life, a powerful, honest love story written not in grand gestures but in daily care, shared dreams, and emotional healing. Every now and then, Clara would look at the sky and wonder if Andrew ever found peace, and maybe he did. Because sometimes, true strength doesn't come from fighting for someone, it comes from freeing them to find happiness even if it's not with you. Sometimes, life doesn't go the way we plan. We lose people, we get hurt, we feel betrayed. But the real strength isn't in how tightly we hold on, it's in how gracefully we let go. Andrew lost a wife, but he gained a soul. Clara lost a prison, but found a purpose. And Jeremiah, once a hired stranger, became the love she was never allowed to dream about. So if you're watching this and feel trapped, unloved, or unworthy, remember, you are not a prisoner of your past. You are the architect of your future. And real love, it doesn't test you, it frees you.